Welcome back, 8th graders. Today we are going to talk about relative clause with the relative pronouns which, where, who, and was. So we hope you're ready. I'm Akshay Singh.
And I'm Gabriela Tsilakidis.
Gabriela, good to have you back with us once again.
Thanks a lot.
So
nice to see you again.
But before we start off, let's go over the homework that we had given last time. If you remember, we were doing the active and the passive voice, and at the end of it, we had given some homework. So let's see if we remember that. The first one, check your homeworks, please. Theodore gave the papers to Alina. If you remember voice, we had told you that pick out the verb first. The word before that is the subject, and the object comes after that. Theodore gave, so it becomes the active voice. And when we change it to the passive voice, it becomes the papers were given by Theodore to Alina. Please remember one thing, students. Try always, you must actually, respect the tense. Don't change the tense. Theodore gave, so the papers were given.
Of course. Deci nu trebuie să schimbați timpul verbal, da? Dacă în vorbirea directă, de fapt la diateza activă, avem la trecutul simplu, cum vedeți în exemplu, Tudor gave the papers to Alina, Tudor i-a dat documentele Alinei, la fel va fi și la diateza pasivă, documentele au fost date de către Tudor Alinei.
And the second one?
Yes, let's take the second one. People speak Portuguese in Brazil. So we'll take Portuguese, okay.
And it will become the subject in the passive voice.
Very good. Portuguese is spoken by people in Brazil. Oamenii vorbesc portugheză în Brazilia. Portugheza este vorbită de către oamenii din Brazilia.
Again, check the verb is in the same form. In the same form means it is that same tense. Speak and Portuguese is spoken. My grandfather built this house in 1947 will change to this house was built by my grandfather in 1947.
Very good. Bunicul meu a construit această casă în 1947. This house becomes the subject, okay? Of the sentence. This house was built. Casa aceasta a fost construită de către bunicul meu în 1947. Very good. Let's take the fourth one. The cleaner has cleaned the office. The office has been cleaned by the cleaner. You can see that the tense is present perfect simple. In the active voice, da? Este prezentul perfect simplu la diateza activă. Va deveni tot prezent perfect simplu, dar la diateza pasivă. The office has been cleaned by the cleaner. Adică biroul a fost curățat de către cel care face curățenie, da?
The cleaner.
The cleaner.
And the next one, Gabriela, he had written 3 books before 1867, changes into the passive. 3 books had been written by him before 1867.
Okay, so here we've got past perfect. El scrisese 3 cărți până în 1867. 3 cărți au fost scrise de către el până în 1867, înainte de acest an. Avem past perfect simple la diateza activă, past perfect simple la diateza activă, past perfect simple la diateza pasivă.
And the other sentences were, the students are painting the room. Passive voice changes to, the room is being painted by the students.
Very good.
Number 7, Gabriela?
Number 7, somebody should do the work. The work should be done by somebody. Okay? You can see, cineva, nu se spune care este identitatea. Cineva ar trebui să facă această muncă, da? Munca respectivă ar trebui făcută de către cineva, nu se spune, da? Câteodată putem să scoatem somebody pentru că nu are identitate și putem spune the work should be done. Okay.
And the next one. They make shoes in that factory will change to shoes are made in that factory. I've purposely written by them in commas because also if it is not included, it is understood that
Very
they
good.
make shoes.
Very good. Let's take the ninth example. They had finished preparations by the time the guests arrived. Preparations had been finished by the time the guests arrived. So we've got had finished, past perfect simple in the active voice, da? Trecutul perfect simplu la diateza activă, da? And here we've got past simple, la fel la diateza activă. Aceste două verbe se vor schimba la diateza pasivă. Had been finished, preparations had been finished by the time the guests arrived. Okay? Very good.
And the last one, we have produced skis here since 1964. We, subject, produced verb, skis, object. So passive voice, let's take the skis in the front. Skis have been produced here since 1964. And now students, let's go on to the main lesson. Today we are going to read about relative clauses, and we hope that by the end of the lessons you understand what relative clauses are and how they are used with relative pronouns. So let's start off. What are relative clauses? Relative clauses tell us a little bit more about people and things, such as this example, Radu Durbaka, who is 76, has just retired. Similarly, this is the house which John built. So, which John built tells us a little bit about that house. Marie Curie is the woman that discovered radium. These words in red are what we call the relative clause. And this is the place where Maria found the cat. So students, you will be noticing that these words, who, which, that, where, they are used to connect the relative clause with the main clause.
Very good. Okay, so relative clauses in our language, in Romanian mean atributive, propoziții subordonate atributive, dar câteodată pot fi și incidente, da? De exemplu, cum vedeți aici, introdus prin who, acest lucru poate fi extras, da? Poate fi scos. Este o informație suplimentară de care ne putem lipsi. So we can say also, Radu Durbaka has just retired, okay? And that's all. We do not want to know his age, okay? But here, this is the house which John built. We can't take these words out because otherwise the sentence
will not make sense.
Yes, won't make sense. So this is the house which John built. Aceasta este casa pe care a construit-o John. Marie Curie is the woman that discovered radium. Marie Curie este femeia care a descoperit, da, acea substanță, radium, da? We can't take these words out because otherwise we are not telling anything, okay, about
True.
Marie Curie. And the last one, this is the place where Maria found the cat. Aceasta este locul unde Maria a găsit pisica. So, where is for, okay, for places. Who for people, that for people too, and which for things.
And let's move on. We go to the relative pronouns, and in this class we are talking only of 4 specific relative pronouns. We are talking about who or that. We can also use that for people. See the sentence, the people who live in the village, or you can say the people that live in the village. We are also going to look at which or that again. You can use that instead of which. For things, obviously, the house which belongs to Maria is near the school. The house that belongs to Maria is near the school. We are also going to look at where. This is, as Gabriela was telling us, for places. This is the place where I found 100 lei. I wish this was true. And last is, we are going to talk about whose, which is simply the possessive of who. And it can be used mostly for people, sometimes for things. Like in the sentence, this is George, whose brother is a pilot.
Very good. So, we use who and that. Folosim who sau that pentru persoane, which sau that pentru lucruri, where când vorbim despre locuri și whose atunci când ne referim la ceva care aparține cuiva, da? The possessive of who, da? People and things. De exemplu, casa, the house, which that belongs to Maria, casa care aparține Mariei, este aproape de școală. This is the place where I found 100 lei. Acesta este locul unde am găsit 100 de lei. Da? Where for places. Whose, this is George, whose brother is a pilot. Acesta este George, a cărui frate este pilot. Deci whose ține locul lui a cărui, al cărui, ale cărui, cum este în limba română, da? Okay?
And one more simple rule, actually, students try to remember. We can use that instead of who, we can use that instead of which, but just try to remember if there is a comma after the subject, like I can say, Dima, who built this house? But that time, if there's a comma, don't use that. Always use either who or which. We'll have a look at some examples. So let's go a bit deeper into relative clauses. As Gabriela mentioned, there are two types of relative clauses, and relative clauses tell us, make clear about which person or thing we are talking about, like in the sentences. Marie Curie is the woman who discovered radium, and this is the house which Jack built or that Jack built. Also remember, in this kind of clause, we can, of course, like we said, use that instead of who or which. Similarly, like it is shown below, Marie Curie is the woman that, this is the house that. We can leave out the pronoun if it is the object in the sense like this. This is the house Jack built. We can simply say this is the house Jack built and leave out the pronoun. It's fine.
Okay.
And?
Let's move on. When do we use relative clauses, especially when we want to give more information about a person, a thing, or a situation? Let's take...
These Gabriela, are actually called non-defining relative clauses, and the one before are called defining, because if you remove them from the sentence, then the sentence doesn't make complete sense. But these can be removed.
Deci cele care erau pe celălalt slide, în urmă, trebuie folosite neapărat, nu pot fi puse între virgule, pentru că altfel nu vom înțelege și nu va avea sens propoziția. În cazul de față, non-defining clauses, relative clauses, sunt propoziții incidente, ca să spunem așa, au legătură, da, cu cele din limba română și le putem scoate din context. Da? Și astfel, fără ele, propoziția are în continuare sens. De exemplu, Lord Thompson, who is 76, has just retired. So we can remove it, and we've got Lord Thompson has just retired, because we do not want to know about anything about his age. Or we had fish and chips, which I always enjoy. This is extra information. We don't want to know, but we know that they had fish and chips. Nu ne interesează această informație, o putem scoate, dar știm însă că lor le place, că ei au mâncat, da? Pește cu cartofi prăjiți. I met Rebecca in town yesterday, which was a nice surprise. A surprise. So the first, I met Rebecca in town yesterday, is a piece of information. We do not know if it was a nice surprise or not. Nu știm dacă a fost o surpriză plăcută sau nu, dar știm că a întâlnit-o pe Rebecca. Okay, with this kind of relative clause, we use commas, Da? În acest tip de propoziții subordonate folosim virgulă, da? Pentru a separa, to separate it from the rest of the sentence, pentru a separa de restul propoziției. In this kind of relative clause, we cannot use that. Da? Nu putem folosi that. Lord Thompson, who is 76, has just retired. Not Lord Thompson, that is 76, has just retired. Okay? So this is not a correct use of the word that in this case.
Actually, the simple, like we said, the simple rule to remember is just remember if there's a comma, you cannot use that instead of which or instead of who. And the last one?
And the last
Gabriela?
one, of course, and we cannot leave out the pronoun. We had fish and chips, which I always enjoy, not we had fish and chips I always enjoy, because it doesn't make any sense.
We need the pronoun.
Of course.
And now, of course, it's time to revise a little bit so that we understand the rules clearly. Relative clauses tell us a little bit more about people and things. There are two kinds of relative clauses, if you remember. The defining relative clause, like these sentences. The man who stole the car has been caught, no commas. The relative clause in this is who stole the car. Secondly, the umbrella which Christian bought last week has already broken. Again, defining clause, which Christian bought. And the non-defining relative clause, my mother, who is 86, lives in Pechia. Extra information, who is 86, non-defining relative clause. The restaurant in Bucharest, where I first met my wife, is still there.
Really? Was it like this?
It was.
Nice, very nice.
And finally, the relative pronouns. We use these pronouns to introduce the clauses who, which, that, where, and whose.
And whose.
Should we move on, Gabriela?
Of course.
To your favorite part. I hope so. Let's try some practicing. Now it's your turn. Let's see if you can put in the correct word. The first sentence.
Okay, the first sentence. Thank you very much for your email. Was very interesting. So email is a thing. Of course, we can use which or that.
Of course.
Okay. In that sentence.
Now look at this sentence. Mr. Dima dash is a taxi driver, lives in that house. Remember we had talked about this comma and that you cannot use that when there is a comma. I cannot say Mr. Dima that is a taxi driver. Here I have to use who.
That is the school dash I used to work 2 years ago. Okay, we don't have any commas there. So that is the school where, because we are talking about a place here.
A place we use where. Number 4, last week I bought a computer, which is a thing I don't like now. I guess I gave the answer.
Yes, which or that. Very
Yes,
good.
exactly. Out here we can use that.
Mihaela, but you can see that there are commas there, so we can't use that. So Mihaela, who is only 9, plays the piano brilliantly. Okay, let's move on to the relative pronoun whose, because we use whose as the possessive of who. Da? Pronumele relativ, da? Al cui, ale cui, a, al, ai, ale cui, așa am învățat eu la școală, da? Când eram în gimnaziu. We use whose as the possessive of who. Da? Este posesivul lui who. This is Mihai, whose brother went to school with me. Very good. And the last one, the man whose daughter won the game is a tennis coach. Acesta este Mihai, al cărui frate a mers la școală cu mine. Am mers la aceeași școală împreună. Da? And the second one, the man whose daughter won the game is a tennis coach. Bărbatul a cărui fiică a câștigat jocul, da, respectiv, este un antrenor de tenis. Este antrenor de tenis. Okay.
And similarly, what is the name of the student whose computer I used last week? And the last one?
That's the girl whose father is a famous writer. Aceea este fata a cărui tată este un foarte faimos, un celebru scriitor. Da?
And now students, we have a short video for you. Have a look at it. I hope it will help you. We hope it will help you understand relative clauses and the use of the relative pronouns properly.
Hello everyone. So, what are relative pronouns? Relative pronouns are used to provide more information about a person, a thing, or a place. We use who when we talk about people. The boy who is wearing a cap is my brother. The boy who is wearing a cap. We use which when talking about things. I loved the present which you gave me for my birthday. The present which you gave me. We use where when we talk about places. My father forgets things. He never remembers where he puts his keys. He never remembers where he puts his keys. We use that when we talk about people and things. For example, this is the book that I want to read, the book that, or this is the man that I met yesterday, the man that. That's it for now. I hope it was helpful. Good luck everyone. Goodbye.
And let's move on a little bit, because as you know, practice makes perfect. It's only if we keep on practicing that we understand.
Of course. Let's take the first example. This is the doctor dash helped Sarah recover from her illness. This is the doctor, so we are talking about people here. What do we use when we talk about people? We use who or that.
And out here there is no comma, so I can use who, I can also use that.
Very good.
These are the kids dash parents were arrested. So out here we are talking about somebody, possession. So these are the kids whose parents were called. And the third sentence, the letter dash he sent never reached me. We need a pronoun for this thing, letter. So I can either use which or I can also use that.
That, of course. Okay, let's take the fourth one. She has gone to Iași, comma, is her birthplace. We know that she has gone to Iași and we do not want to know if Iași is her birthplace or not. But we use which, but we can't use that because we've got a comma here. The town dash we spent the holidays was very beautiful.
A place.
A place. So what do we use, children, for places?
Of course.
We use where. The town where we spent the holidays was very beautiful. Orașul în care noi ne-am petrecut vacanțele era foarte frumos.
Foarte frumos.
Foarte frumos, orașul.
And number 6, Radu and Loredana, comma, dash got married about a year ago, recently bought a new house. So, notice the comma, so I will only use who out here.
Okay, let's take the seventh one. What's the name of the man? So we are talking about people now. A man, car you borrowed. So it's about a car too. Maybe it's about possession. Okay, what's the name of the man whose car you borrowed? Care-i numele bărbatului a cărui mașină ai împrumutată. Da?
Number 8, grocery, a place, or it can be a thing also, but let's see the sentence. A grocery is a place, dash you buy vegetables, has to be where only. Similarly, number 9,
Very good. The dog bit the robber. The robber was trying to break into the house. So we are talking about people. We use who.
and we can also use that for this sentence. Number 10, a thing. My bicycle, dash I've had for more than 10 years, is missing. Can I use that in this, Gabriela?
I don't think so because we've got commas here and it's a non-defining clause.
So I can only use which.
Which.
Exactly. Before we end the lesson, we would like to acknowledge that we received some help from the following sites on the internet. And students, I hope that you have been able to learn in this session a little bit about the relative clause and the relative pronouns. Practice a little bit, because remember, practice makes perfect. And stay healthy, of course, stay happy, and hopefully we'll see you the next time. So it's goodbye from both of us.
Of course, I'm Gabriela Tsilakidis and I say goodbye to you.
And I'm Akshay saying goodbye and good luck.
Bye, have a nice day.